And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 2nd of September 2025, Tuesday, and let's just begin solving questions for the day. And they will be 1400 rated questions. Today we had only 6 questions left at this rating. So daily we do about 4 questions, so maybe we might be able to do all 6, but that would be very optimistic thinking and maybe getting ahead of ourselves. So what we can do is solve the 4 questions for the day and then try to do this one which we left before: schedule management, right? And that would be the intro for today, and I will start my tmux from scratch. Tmux attach, TCP, go to 1400 folder, and also I will be using LLDB for debugging because first of all I want to get used to using LLDB as my debugger, and second of all LLDB out. Yep, run. Right, it is waiting for argument. Yep, and list main gives us the. Okay, so there is no main function. A list does not work somehow. Okay, I don't know which function this is pointing to actually. So wait. Yes, I want to just get used to using LLDB as the debugger, but I won't be using it in competitive programming as a thing which I use because I think competitive programming, the code is at max around 100 lines, a few hundred lines at max, and thus not very complicated, not at the 1400 level. So I do not want to get used to using a debugger in less complicated questions like this. So yeah, so I will just be using LLDB for now to get used to using LLDB, but then I will stop when I am comfortable enough with using LLDB. And yeah, because I do not want to rely on a debugger for small codes, and I want to have the ability to just eyeball where the mistake is in the code and maybe use printf debugging and start our stopwatch. And now I will stop, not stop, but start solving the question. Let's go. The problem is actually a subproblem of the. There are n candies in a candy box. The type of the ith candy is AI, which is a number between 1 to n. You have to prepare a gift using some of these candies with the following restrictions. The number of the candies of each type presented in a box should be all distinct. For example, a gift having 2 candies of type 1 and 2 candies of type 2 is bad. Okay, it is possible that multiple types of candies are completely absent from the gift. It is also possible that not all candies of some types will be taken to a gift. Your task is to find out the maximum possible size of the single gift you can prepare using the candies you have. Maximum possible size of the single gift you can prepare using the candies you have. You have to answer Q queries independently. Q independent queries. If you are a Python programmer, input Q. Okay, this is very old. Yeah. Okay. Why does this seem very easy? I can use a map. Yes. Okay. Number of queries, then the number of candies. And this, it is guaranteed that the sum never exceeds. For each query, print one single integer, the maximum size. Just find the number of things that, wait, why is it 9? 1, 4, 8, 1, that is 3 candies, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why is it? Single gift you can compose using candies you got in this query with the restriction described in the problem. And you have to prepare a gift using some of these candies with the following restriction. The number of candies each type each type presented in a gift should be all distinct. Number of candies provided should be distinct from a given type. Okay, 2 candies of this type, 3 of this, and 4 of this. Okay, and the maximum that, okay, that should be not very hard. I can count the frequencies of all the things. Here the frequency of 7 is 7, right? Just use a greedy approach and yeah, use a greedy approach and sort them on the basis of their value. Yep, and n. Okay, cool, cool. This is not very hard. This is not. Well, at least it doesn't seem to be. Let's see. Shit, shit. My LSP is still not working. Okay, I will fix it later. I will fix it later. And n and shit. Okay. After taking in n, vi a size n and int c for int I equals 0, I less than ni plus plus c in c, take in c and increase the size a bit, and then a c plus plus, and maybe make this n plus 1, and then sort a dot begin and a dot end r begin and r end long answer equals int answer equals 0, and for int I equals 0, I less than n I plus plus, or yeah, that was correct, that was correct. Int I equals 0, I less than n I plus plus. What you have to do is keep adding. Okay. Answer plus equals a 0, and we will start with 1. Now if a I isn't equal to a I minus 1, the last one, then answer plus equals a I, and again see out a I. Okay, can I not use a greedy approach here? See out not answer, but a, that is debugging. Clang plus plus, what was the name of the question? D can be dot slash out. I have only one test case, which is this one. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Would have been better if I took 4, then 3. Yeah, yeah. If there is a collision, then take the smaller one. Yeah, if there is a collision, then take the smaller one. Makes sense. Because the next one might be smaller. Yeah, reduce the current one by one and add it. So AI minus minus and answer plus equals AI. Would this could because the next one is going to be smaller than or equal to this, and if it is equal, then wouldn't have mattered if I reduced this or the next one. If it is equal, then there is a problem. Yes, shit. If it is equal, then there is a problem. Then there is actually a problem. I have to see how far it is equal and then reduce all of them by one. Okay. What? And let's say B equals AI. Yeah, AI. And while AI equals B, what I will do is AI minus minus, not just minus minus, but you get the thing. Answer. Maybe I can just do AI minus minus and ANS plus equals AI, and then here check if AI, the correct one, if it is smaller than the last one. Else here I know that it is greater or equal, then AI equals AI minus 1 minus 1 minus 1. That is the maximum value that this thing can have, and after that answer plus equals AI. Cool. That is messed up. That is absolutely messed up. This and AI. Okay, why 8 appears twice, right? And then 4 appears twice. So 4 would have been 1, right? And then 5 appears. No, then I cannot do anything. Then I cannot do anything. If AI equals 1, then break. I cannot do anything after this point. Yep. 4, 4, 3, and next one is 0. Hmm. I think I can remove this, or maybe not. This appears. Why is this error prone? If the current one is smaller, then add, right? Else, if it is not, else if it is 0, this one becomes negative. Okay, okay, okay. And AI. Do not go in with 0. Hmm. Answer plus equals the first one. here I'm making sure that I do not go in when AI is 0, and internally if AI becomes 1, the next one can be bigger than AI. If the current one is larger than AI, if the current one is larger than AI, then the maximum value that AI can have is a last minus 1. And this would only be negative. This would only be negative if both are 0, right? AI minus 1 would have to be 0 for 0 minus 1 to be negative, right? AI becomes 1 or not AI. If AI becomes 0, then just break. And that should work. That should work. Should it? First of all, I can remove my debugging stuff. And apart from that, that does look good. Sort it from end to the beginning, from in descending order, and then answer equals 0 at the largest one, and then C, start iterating from the maximum to the minimum, and if the minimum is 0, I cannot add it, and if at any point minimum, okay, yes, that was a bit stupid, less than or equal to 1, then break, because I cannot have any better value than this. The next best thing after 1 is just 0, and that is not actually a thing. Okay, let's see. Shit, that is 13 minutes. That is very long. Time passes by very fast. Yo, good morning. How are you? Let's see. Hopefully this works. You said good morning. Maybe this will work. And yes, I guess it will. Okay, cool, cool. 15 minutes. Yeah, 15. We can say 15. 15 minutes. And what were the things? What are the things that I have learned from this question? And why is this 1400 rated? This was not very hard. The main thing I would say about this question is the implementation. These checks, if AI less than equal to 1, then break, and here if AI is 0, then do not go inside. That is one thing. Yeah, those would be the things. And I do not have to actually check this one. Yep, we don't have to check that condition. And let me predict or guess the tags, which I will see here if I press on show tags button. And I think the tags are going to be implementation. Yes, implementation is one thing in this question, and greedy. Implementation and greedy are the two things that I guess will be here. Well, greedy or sorting, yes, yes. Shit, sorting doesn't even register in the brain somehow. Yeah, sorting and greedy. Sorting is there yet. Did use sorting, but implementation is not there. Fine, but I got the greedy part, so that is cool. And now D. We set the clock. Let's read the editorial. This was by Mr. Mike, and Mr. Mike is can do a lot of push-ups. I've seen his videos. He can do a lot of push-ups. This guy right here, he can do a lot of push-ups. And I'm not kidding. He actually can out push-up the best competitive programmers in the planet. So that is cool. Let's calculate the array C and T, where C and T I is the number of candies of the ith type. Let's sort it in non-descending order. Non-ascending, that is equal or descending. Obviously, now we can take candy I, because this is the maximum number of candies of some type in the array. Let's LST be the last number of candies we take. Initially, it equals CNT1 and the answer is initially the same number. Then let's iterate over. Okay, who wrote this tutorial? Was it Mr. Mike? That is very generous of him. Then let's iterate over all values of CNT in order from left to right, from highest to lowest. If the current number CNTI is greater than or equal to, that is amazing. That is what I check. If it is smaller, then only, and otherwise, if it is greater than or equal to the last taken number of the last candy, then we cannot take more candies than the last minus one, because we iterating over values of candies count in non-ascending order. So let's increase answer by last minus one and set last equals last minus one. Otherwise, otherwise, if the current candy is lower than last, then just add the count of the current candies and update the last to be equal to the current candies. Yep, that is cool. That is cool, and we can move on to the next question now. Question this one, news distribution. And we will start the thing. Okay, cool. And I don't know why is YouTube giving me error, even though the stream is fabulous and there is no lag in the stream, and also it is 2K resolution. The streaming, you can go to the setting and set it up to 2K, but YouTube is still giving me error somehow. And my OBS is also telling me there are no difficulties, so that is cool. And let's move on to the next question. Simple. News distribution. In some social network, there are n users, seems like a graph, communicating with each other in m groups of friends components. Let's analyze the process of distributing some news between users. Initially, some user X receives the news from some source, then he or she sends the news to his or her friends. Two friends, two users are friends if there is at least one group in which that both of them belong to this group. Okay, friends continue sending the news to their friends and so on. The process ends when there is no pair of friends such that no one of them knows the news and another one doesn't know. From for each pair, for each user X, you have to determine what is the number of users that will know the news if initially only user X starts distributing it. That is, just find the size of the component. The first line, n and m, right? The number of users and the number of groups of friends respectively. Then m lines follow, each describing a group of friends. The ith group begins with this, and yeah, n. The ith group begins with integer ki, right? The number of users in the ith group, then ki distinct integers follow. The ith line begins with a number ki between 1 to n, the number of users in the ith group, then k distinct integers describing how many things there are in that group, how many people are there in that group. Okay, print n integers. The ith integer should be equal to the number of users that will know if the ith user start distributing the group, the news. Okay, so here we have 7 users, right? There is group 1, 2 belongs to group 1. Component, there will be k components, right? So for each query, I do not want the time complexity to be n into m. N into m is not acceptable when I take in each group. Group, what does a group even represent? That this person is connected to these two, and then also to one, right? But not just that. Here, one is not connected to anyone, but one is connected to two, and then two is connected to 5 and 4. So indirectly, one is in the group as 2, 3. So one is connected to 1, 2, 4, and 5. Therefore, the answer there is 4. Isolations, components. Okay, I just need to remember the size of components and who the people are in that component. Just find the different number of components, right? Yeah. Not just that. 2 is connected to 5 and 4. So how can I store this? I can store a adjacency matrix, which will tell me which nodes are connected to the given node. And given that, I need to find the components or just the size of the component that a given node is connected to. So that I can store as a vector where the index would be the node and the value would be the size of the component that this node is a part of. And how would I fill up that vector? To fill that vector, I can pre-process, right? 2 seconds. I can pre-process. Yep. Go and yes, apply DFS or BFS or anything, does not matter, till I cannot move any further. Yep. And when, yes, and my DFS will return the size of the component. And yes, that is what it will do. Yes. And I will call my DFS with a number. Each component, I just need to find the sizes of components, and when I call DFS on some particular node, let's say node number 1, and that DFS will, let's say, return to me the size of the component that this thing is a part of. And to be efficient, I need to go to all the nodes that are part of that component and update their component size to be equal to the component size of 1. But what if every node, no node is connected to any other node? And also to convert this thing into an adjacency matrix, it is bad. Wait, maybe I can leverage this structure itself. If I have something like this, I have this, right? Node 2. Okay, got lost. If I have something like this and node 2, 4, and 5 are a part of one group, so I can write them in a set 2, 5, 4. Yep, and yes, it is becoming n square time complexity. 0, skip this, and then I see 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 2, 4, 5, 3, 1, 6, 7. And originally the component size of 2 was 2, for 5 was also 2, for 4 was also 2. So I do not need to uh, keep them individually. I do not need to keep them individually. Instead, whenever I see a new node, I need to know if it is part of a past component or not. And if it is, update that component to have this node. So maybe I can keep a vector of sets. But then if the group size of everything is just 1, in that case, how do I find the component in which any of these nodes is a part of? Because it will take time, n square time, right? It will take n square time. So adjacency matrix could be a way. Let's say but how would I even create a adjacency matrix out of this? Because whenever I see a few numbers, I would have to go through every single pair of them, right? Go to 6 and add all of these numbers that are to the right, then go to 7 and add all the rest of the numbers, and then go to the next number and add all the rest of the numbers. So that is also not good to represent this as a adjacency matrix. This has to be something better. Component. I just have to figure out two things. First, how do I store this in a data structure for which I have to leverage the structure in which this data has been presented to me, and also which would be optimal to find the size of components for a given node. Let's say I want to print the answer for node 1. Then I cannot have a map. I would like to have a vector which stores the size of the component of which 1 is a part of which 1 is a part of. And I can just apply DFS, but yeah, thing is, to apply DFS, I need to have some sort of better representation of data than just saying that all of these nodes are connected to each other. Yeah. And to store this, I would have to store this whole thing, 4 and 5, and in the list of nodes that 2 is connected to, and then in the list of nodes that 5 is connected to, I would have to store 2 and 4, and same goes for 4. And if there are a lot of nodes that are connected to each other, I would have to go through every single combination and add them individually, which is not good, and I shouldn't do. So I need to leverage just this thing that I have. Well, when I see a node, I can have a Boolean representation, 0 or on or off, and another one representing the size. Another one representing the size. And when I see 2, it is initially off, so I put it on and put the size equal to the rest of this thing. That would be 3 total number of people that 2 is connected to, including itself is 3. So 3, and same goes for 4 and 5. What is what even is my invariance? On, on, 3, 3. And then I see 0, so skip it. Then I see 1, and 1 is connected to 2 people in total. 1, 2, and then I see 2 again, and I see that 2, I have already seen 2. How do I update the values for 4 and 5 also? When I see 2, I could have seen 5, I could have even seen 4. So how do I update the values of rest of the things that 2 is connected to? For that, I need to know with what things 2 was connected to. Yep. And then go through all of them and update their values, update their count by this thing -1. And there are m things. Wait, group. This is a group, and this is a group. Yes, this is a group. Yes, this is a group. And the sum of the sizes of all the components is going to be equal to the total number of nodes, which is n. Does that help me though? From where to learn DC? Hey there, game dev here. Hello. You can learn DSA from where can you learn DSA? I would suggest you can go and solve questions on NeetCode's roadmap right here. NeetCode's roadmap. And if you want to read theory, then for theory you can go to CLRS, this book, Introduction to Algorithms. You can read stuff from here. And there are also lectures by MIT, free lectures by MIT on Introduction to Algorithms, which are based on this book. And also there are these algorithms for competitive programming, and the MIT lectures are based on this book. So that is cool. And they are free. So that is cool. And right here, shit. So we need some way to represent this data in an efficient way, and we know that the size of each component, if I add C1 represents the size of the first component, then C2 the second component, C3, and if I add all of them, how many there are, let's say there are X amount of components, it is going to be equal to N, which is the total number of nodes that we have. That makes sense. But how do I know? When I'm printing the output, I need to know, given this one, which component does it belong to? And that would require some associative data structure. Wait, can I just use a vector of set if I have a vector of set of integers where the key is going to be the node number and the set, but if that is not really good, is it? Because from the set I only need the size of the set, so I could just store the count, update the count, but even that is not very good. Yes, because the thing is this, when I see 2 here, or wait, when I see that 2, 5, 4 are part of one group, and then I see 1 and 2. When I see this 2, I also need to update the values of these two things. Can I just go and update? It just feels too cumbersome to do so. Maybe I can actually do it. I can go to the set of 2 of the nodes that 2 is connected to, and for everything there add all of these nodes that are connected to 2 here, and I would have to add them one by one. What if for every m I see everyone, and then again for every m I see everyone, half of the, is that would be the worst. What can there be? Then ki distinct integers follow. Can there be a scenario in which I see that 1 and 2 are a part of this group, and then I see 1 and 2 again are a part of another group? If that happens, then the time complexity is going to be very high because there will be repetitions. In some social network, there are n users communicating with each other. Let's analyze the process of distributing some news between users. Initially, some users, I think that would be the case. That could happen. That could happen. But if I add, it is guaranteed that the sum of ki does not exceed this thing. The sum of ki does not exceed this thing. Is this helpful to me? Ki is, there will be repetitions. There will be repetitions. M, yeah, M can be bigger than N. And but if I sum the group, what does this tell me? This tells me that for all the groups, if there are some members in this group, then there are some members in this group, then there are some members in the next group. What I have to do is, for every number that I see in this group, I will go to the set of elements which have been till this point connected to this group and add to them union. Can I, yeah, when I'm taking something, I can take union of this. I can create a set out of this thing, this as a group, and then for every element that belongs here, I can take the union of all of these and all of those. That is cool. That is actually cool. And I think union is faster than individually adding. Is union of set n C++ faster than individually adding elements? If it is, then uh, is the union of two sets all the elements? Okay, I think union is going to be faster. My LSP is very stupid. Okay, yes, N and M is what we have, and N and M, C in N, and then take in M. I now have N and M, and what I need is a vector of set of integers. Let's call them comps, as in components, and the size is going to be n plus 1 to make it one index. Template argument, what? Template argument for template parameter must be a type. Type is integer. I mean, okay, and now, yes, for int I equals 0, I less than m I plus plus n s, or let's say c, as in c for the number of people in this current group, j equals 0, j less than c, and j plus plus. And for each group, I will have to create a set. Let's call it S, and int F as in friend, C in friend, know your friend, S dot insert F. And when I have the whole set, I will have to iterate through it again and keep taking the union of that thing with the people, with the friends that this person has been with at till this point. I think the time complexity is the could be the thing that messes everything up. So for int x in s, for everything in s, what I have to do is comps bracket x dot union. How do I take a union? Union, set union. Yes, it takes in two sets, I guess. What does it return? Iterator, output, com initial iterator, find input iterators, and then output iterator initial. Okay, okay, okay. Input iterator 1, input iterator 2, and then that is template shit. Okay, that is That might be fast. I don't know. Let's see. Take union of s dot begin and s dot end and camps x dot begin and cmps x dot end and store it in cmps and cmps x dot begin. Hmm. And template cannot assign class function returns a constant. How to take union of sets and C++. Let's see how it goes. How to take union of set. Okay, we have two sets, set 1, set 2, and then we just union set, just call the union set function. Okay, you create a vector in which you are going to store the whole thing. That is not very beautiful. No, no, no. So this thing, shit, no. This will return a vector which I will have to store in the set again. No, this is not a very good idea. This is bad. What can we do? Int c for int I equals 0, I less than m, I plus plus, c in c, the size of what? Size of the current group which has been given to us. Like here, the size of the first group is 3. We have 3 numbers. And when I see 2 here, I also not just need to update the value of 1 and 2, but I also need to update the values of 4 and 5. So I need to remember something. But how do I remember this in a very efficient way? Because I might also see repetitions. And I think this is the thing that is going to help us. The brute force thing would be just whenever I see a repetition, go to every number that is connected to this and update their value, which is just the set approach. Initialize a vector, keep adding stuff to it, or initialize a set, keep adding stuff to it. And I guess I can take, okay, let's do the manual thing. At least it will work. Vector of set of integers. Let's call it comps, as in components, n plus 1, and initialize the set. And after this, int x for int j equals 0, j less than c, the size of the current group, j plus plus, taken this current person into x and store this whole group. Yes, store this whole group. Yep. Hmm. Store this whole group. So set integer, let's call it s, and s dot insert x. Insert the current person into the set, and now for every person that is in our current set, update the past values, not just for these, but for everyone that this is going to use some graph traversal algorithm, but I just do not know how I can do this. If I could just represent this as a adjacency matrix, and that I can, if I see n items there, if I see at max I could see n items, and yeah, it would take n square time to add each other to each other's group. If I am representing this as a adjacency matrix, then if I see a lot of numbers, then for every number I have to go to the list of the nodes that this current number is connected to, and to that I have to add all the other ones, all the other nodes in this group, since this one is connected to all of these. And not just this, I have to do this for every single node here. Go to the list of nodes that this node is connected to and add all the other nodes there. And if there are n nodes, I have to do this first of all n times, and I have to do this n times, and in each individual iteration I have to go through n minus 1 elements. That is n square time complexity, which is no, which is bad, because the size of a individual set can be ki, can be equal to n, and n can be 10 power 5. So we cannot do that. We cannot represent this as a adjacency matrix. Or maybe when I see this, I can start constructing, and yes, I am, like, of course, facing difficulty while doing this. Hello. And which language are you using and which platforms? I am using Vim, and the language is C++, and the platform is Vim in terminal. Hello, bro. Which language should I? Bobby sister? Shit, you are not playing chess anymore, I guess. I am a fresher and want to learn coding. You can learn coding, it is easy. Participating in ICPC? Nope, I am not participating in ICPC. And why would you want my LinkedIn? It is just my name, by the way, in my LinkedIn. And if you want to start doing programming, you can go and do this thing, CS50. It is a free course by Harvard, and it is CS50 Introduction to Computer Science. This is for people who are beginning to learn to program, and this is one of the best things that you could do as a beginner. So that is what I would suggest. And back to this question. What do we do? Okay, when I see that these are a part of a single component, then let's say I can create a vector of sets where each vector, where each component would represent hmm, but 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 the thing would be when I see a list like this, how do I know in which thing this node belongs to, in which component does this node belong to? And what if I just see groups of individuals like this? Then I would have to check this with everyone. So can I also sort these sets? No, this is a simple graph question, not very simple. I just need to find the size of components for each given component. And I also have a lot of time, 2 seconds. I cannot afford n square. Maybe I can actually afford n square. 10 power 5 n square. Nope, I cannot afford n square. I only care about the size of the components. Size of components. Size of components. And let's say later I see that 3 here, and I see that 5 is connected, or a group of 2 where 5 is connected to 6. Now it is even worse because because to the list of 5 I would have to add 6, also 7, because 6 is connected to 7, and now everything is connected to everything else. All the things are connected to each other except 3. 3 is not connected to anyone. 4, yeah. So this is like screaming the BFS or DFS. But to do that, how do I do BFS or DFS here? Um, I the time that it would take to represent all of this in a adjacency matrix is high. Why would I even store them in a adjacency matrix? Nope. I would like to store them in a adjacency list like this. But that also is going to take n square time. Yes, that is going to take n square time. But maybe that might just be the best thing for me to do. Hmm? That might be the best thing to do. Or shit. No, no, no. No. Yeah, I would have to add everything. It would become directional. Yeah. If I just store the later numbers in the adjacency list for the first node, that would also not work because that would just make this directional. And what if I never see 2 later and I only see 5 and 4? I would not know that they are connected to 2. And the worst case that is stopping me from actually making a adjacency list is the case when I have a single group where everyone is. Wait, does the size of a group tell me something about it? Those people are directly connected to each other, that is one thing. Those people are directly connected to each other. And what I essentially have to do is compare each group that I get with all the groups that have been till this point, and if there is any commonality between them, then take their union and mark them as a single component. And then do this for everyone. But that would just be bad if there is only one person in every group and that person has no friends. So okay, in 5 minutes I will look at the editorial for this one. There is no point in thinking anymore, and just looking at the tutorial would be better. There might be some way that some new concept that I am not aware of. It would be cool to know that. I cannot think of anything. Okay. Yep. Let's begin from scratch. We have what we have is groups of people, and yes, groups of people, and some are isolated, some have a little bit of overlap like that. And whenever there is a overlap like this, I will consider that whole thing as a single group. This is a group final component. Let's call them components. This is a component and this is a component. And when I'm outputting the answer, let's say for value 1, then I need to see where in which component is 1. I will check it in this component, then in this, then in this, and then in this. And if I find it anywhere, let's say here, then I will return the size of this component as the output for this one. But that is bad, because what if every component is just a single person? If that is the case, then it is bad. Or if I could just, let's say, make this, and then I will go through every single components, every single number in every group, and update its vector answer value to the size of the component that this number is a part of, like that. Then I need to optimize the way in which I am finding these components. Optimize the way that I am finding these components, and that could be DFS or BFS, but storing this as an adjacency matrix is bad that we already know, because the time complexity would be too high. It would be at worst case n square, which is not good when n is at max 10 power 5. And I guess it is higher than 10 power 5. 5 into 10 power 5. So yeah, n square will be 2.2, around 2 into 10 power 11. It just feels like I can just figure it out in a minute, but it has been 48 minutes. Okay, okay. I think I can do this. So I just finally need to know the components. The components, that is the only thing. Because if I have all the components, then I can iterate through individual elements in that component and update their value by the size of that component, and then move on to the next component. And this thing is only going to take n time, linear time. So that is good. So I just need to find a way through which I can find these components. And thing that is ringing again and again in my head is, whenever I see a thing, I create a set out of it. I will create a set out of it. Right, and whenever I get a new group, I will compare that group with all the existing groups that have been till now. And let's say, since the sum is not very high, at max the two groups that I could get is n by 2 and n by 2. That is the maximum size I can have, because the sum of the groups is like this, is not going to be greater than 10 power 5, which is n. So if I have this, then I need to see how much do they intersect, and yes, how do they intersect? Since this is a set, and this is a set, uh, this is a set. When I have one particular element in this, there are n by 2. Let's say there are n elements in this set, and then in this set there are also n elements. And to see if this element exists in this set, it will take log n time, because this is a set. It is sorted. Shit. So that should work. That should work. That should work. That should work. How to take enter? I could manually write it, or I could stand on the shoulders of the giants. Okay, set 1, set 2, and intersection. Create a new set and begin, end, and inserter. Return the inserter for intersection result starting from this point. Intersection result starting from this point. Okay. I think I do not actually need the set. I only need to know if there is an intersection. How to know in C++ if two given sets intersect at some point or not. I could manually go through the elements in one set intersection result dot begin. And okay, let's just use that and rewrite the whole thing from scratch. Not that I had written a lot of code. Okay, we have this. Now we need a place to store the sets, which can be a vector set of integers. Let's call it CMPS components, and in I will just fix up my LSP after I get this question right. Int c, the size of the set, and for int I equals 0, I less than m, I plus plus. What you do is c in c, the size of the current set. I would have to create a new set integer. Let's call it set and size and int x for int j equals 0, j less than c, and j plus plus, j less than c because c is the size of the current group. Get in this person s dot insert x. Now after this I have the set of all the persons in this group. Now let's create another set enter enter as in intersect, and then set intersection set intersection of s dot begin s dot end, and then do this for all the sets that have been makes sense for set integers and CMPS. Let's call it SS CMPS. Okay, and whenever I see it done, bool d equals false. Uh, and yeah, so set intersection, yep, and set intersection of ss dot begin ss dot end, and then s dot begin s dot end into create inserter inserter for enter dot begin. Okay, why do I have this? Now if not enter dot empty if there was some overlap between these two, then I need to take their union, which is also going to take time, but it is linear, so it should be fine. Or I could have taken their union at the in the first place and then found out their size if it was so okay. Fine. If enter, then I need to take their union. How do I take union of sets? I have to create a new vector of the size vector int union, and its size is going to be s dot size plus ss dot size, and then set union of s dot begin s s dot end and ss dot begin and ss end dot end and un dot begin. Okay, now I have the union of the two things. I have the union as a vector. Can I not just add it in the first? Uh, no, no, shit. makes so much sense. I do not have to take the union. I can do much better. For int x in x is fine, right? Yes, x is fine. For int x in s, that is the current group, what I will do is ss dot insert, and also make this a reference so that we are good human beings. Okay, dot insert x, add everything, and d equals true and break. Okay. Hmm. And else if if not d, then cmps dot pushback s. Hmm. That's cool. Okay, now I expect after this that everything, every set that is in this comps is a singular component. Why? Okay, let's just write the whole thing and then we can check. Now, we can create a vector response of size n plus 1, and we will iterate through the sets for int set of integers. Let's call it s, reference s in cmps. What we will do for individual set is for int x in s res s x dot yes equals, and the claim is that every set that is in cmps, they have no overlap, they are disjoint sets in cmps. That is the claim. So for the things that are in this set equals s dot size, that is going to be the answer for this thing. And then yes, and then for int I equals 1, I less than equal to n I plus plus. What I output is ci output. What is ci? Cn res I space new line I equals n. If we are at the last thing, then output a new line. And hopefully this is wrong. Okay, it is 0. We said everything else is correct, everything else is fabulous, except this. When we 3, because we never got 3. Okay. Shit. Huh? Res I. If res I, then that's I, else 1. Okay, okay, okay. We have written this. We got the answer. We got the answer. It took us 1 hour, but okay, we never gave up. We got the answer. And now we have to make sure before submitting that this is correct. And how do we make sure that this is correct? We delete the whole thing and write from scratch. That is how you make sure that it is correct, right? That is what tourists gave as an advice. Int n and m, c and m, Gennady Korobkovich. And okay, let me initialize everything that I will be needing later. Right here. I will be needing a vector of set of integers, call them components, a vector of sets where each set is a component. And apart from that, I will be needing a simple vector as a result of size n plus 1. Yeah, I also have to include set. I will fix my LSP right now after we get this one right. Int C to represent the size of the current group. I less than m, I plus plus, C in C, get the size of the current group, and initialize a set called S, and for int j equals 0, j less than C, j plus plus. And the current person, let's call the current person F, and C in F, get the current person S dot insert F. And now that we have that, we need to find bool b done equals false, and now we have to take its intersection with every set that has been till now. So int set of integers are reference to that thing. Let's call it ss cm ps in completes, and we have to take the intersection, which would be a vector vi, and yes, just vi or a set. Do we need a set? I completely forgot. A set end enter, and I can create this outside, because whenever I do find our overlap, I will exit. So I need to find the intersection, set intersection of two sets ss dot begin, ss dot end, and then s dot begin, and then s dot end. And now inserter for enter and enter dot begin. Oh, okay. And after this, if not enter dot empty, if it is not empty, then I know we have hit a jackpot. So what we will do is, for int x in s in the current group, s is dot insert x, and do d equals true and break outside. If not d, then add this new thing as a new component. Sims dot pushback ss or s push this thing back as a new component. Yep. And now we will traverse through all the components and s n pmps, and yep, for int x in every s, what we will do is res x equals s dot size. What is this? And now when we have that, int I equals 1, I less than equal to n I plus plus, we have to output depending if res I is, then res I, otherwise output 1. And yep, new line depending on I equals n. Okay, that is correct. That seems to be correct. Copy the whole thing, paste it. The time complexity is the only concern for me, and I think it is fine. The only time taking section is this. Time taking part is this. Okay, it is running, and TLE error. Okay, time limit exceeds. Okay, we can look at the solution now. Or let's see, let's try to optimize this. I'm doing this for every set. Maybe I do not have to do this for Yep. Yeah, let's look at the time limit exceeded. Okay, we can look at the tutorial now, and we can also stop the time because we weren't able to do this. I did answer. I said you can do CS50. I showed you this thing. You can do CS50 if you are just a beginner. Nope, this thing, CS50. You can do that and see. And it is on ultra low latency, so I guess that this is not like the latency is not very high. That is what I suppose. And C, moving on to C. Mr. Mike again. Okay. News distribution, time complexity. Shit. N plus this thing. The first intention after reading the problem is to reformulate it in graph theory terms. Let people be the vertices, edges. Mr. Mike is amazing. Let people be vertices, edge between two vertices x and y exist if they have the same group in common. Yes, basically, if person X starts distributing the news, everyone in his connectivity component receives it. Thus, the task is to calculate the number of vertices of each vertex component. As of now, the graph can have up to n square edges. Consider the case where everyone is in the same group. Yes, let's reduce the number of edges without changing connectivity components. For each group, you know for sure that in it are the same component. For each group, you know for sure that people in it are in the same component. Yes, let's connect not just every pair. Let's connect not just every pair of vertices in it, but every pair of neighboring ones in each group. It is easy to see that they are still in. Shit, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is genius. That is genius. That is genius. Shit. If I have a lot of vertices, shit, that is actually cool. I can treat these as like as people in the same thing because and then apply DFS. Yeah, shit. Okay. That is cool. That is actually cool. And before moving forward, I would like to fix my LSP. My LSP is giving error. And where is the file? It is in N library preferences s clang d config.yaml. This is the file, right? Copy and N this thing, except I have to remove the capital I from the start. Okay. Here bits and stdc++.h. Okay, this thing is highlighted and this will be included if C++ version is above this, above 2002, I guess. I think, yes, I think that is what this means. Only then this would be included. So, no, not just that. Let's see. So I need to fix library C++ standard. Yes, I have given the standard. 23 tmux attach TCP and LSP restart. Wait, shit. Now it doesn't even recognize iOS. So what does it even see in this file? Okay. N, go to the file. No, no. Bits, std, c, reference.io. No, it's not here. And go to that thing, bits, and std, c++, 2025. This is the latest thing. Even headers. Do I have to make some change in this? Include bit set. I can remove these comments and make it include these things for everything, but that is not the best thing. C++. My LSP is giving me error, but the compiler is not giving any error. Let's see. If I do just that, lang plus plus for C news, yes, it is working just fine. It is working just fine. So C++, clang, start this thing. Yes, and clang D is also start from here. LLVM. Yes, LLVM, start this clang. And then and standard is 23. Standard is 23. And this is the thing that I have included. Copy and library preferences. Just it is the same thing, same exact thing. Tmux kill server, we will restart Tmux CD 1400, and the name of the question was in news distribution C news distribution. C news distribution dot cpp. Delete that one and okay. LSP info. Yes, homebrew version of Clang, and these are the things. Use this version of Clang D. Background indexing, no. And okay, right now Clang D is off. Now it came on, and if I go and see the logs, which should be state nvim lsp.log. Okay. Dot n dot local state. Wait, why am I not getting anything? Local state nvim lsp.log. Yes, that is the file. Go to the end and wait, not just this. Yes. I was doing something yesterday. Clang D, check hello.cpp. Clang D unknown command. Okay, yes. F H. How do I give it a file? Man, Plan D. No manual entries. Shit. Okay. How do I provide Clang D a file to look into? Help list. Help list. Okay, import help UTF disk memory pretty never experiment enable config clang low normal check. Check is one thing. Parse one file in isolation instead of acting as a language server. Use investigation reporting. Check equal to file name. Okay, check equal to file name. Clang D. Check equal to hello.cpp. And here are the logs. I can go up and see this is the thing. This is where clang D is. And failed to find compilation base for this. That is fine. Testing source file. No LSP server. Checking hello. Okay, how do I even read this thing? Failed to find compilation base. Generic fallback command is yep, include all of this, but it is not stating the config file that it is using. And hello, yes, I am here now, and the latency is also low, so that is fine. You can just enter your question here. This thing doesn't work. This thing actually doesn't work. Yeah, shit, it is giving me error, even though it shouldn't. Clang, clang. Generic fallback command. Okay, for now, I will fix this thing off stream, and for now, I will get back to solving the questions. Okay, I have to set up Emacs, attach TCP PD 1400, and okay, it was at 141. So, okay, PD 11400 and nc news distribution dot cpp. Delete that thing, and we can write our code from scratch again, and also apply BFS. Right. Int C for int I equals 0, I less than m, I plus plus, take in P the size of the current group. And what will I like to store? I would like to store a vector of integers, which I can even call vi. I will call it a dj of size n plus 1, and individually I just like to initialize the inner vector and int, let's call it f, for int j equals 0, j less than c, j plus plus. But not just this, I need to know the last one. Anyways, int c, no, int a, and let's call l, and c in l, and let's take an a and adj of a. Let's call them left and right. That is much better. Get in the right one, right, and then adj of right dot insert left, and adj of left dot insert is not the right word I should use? Pushback. Pushback, we have pushback and pull. And after this, L equals right. And this will keep on going, yeah, till the last one. And after this, our adjacency list would be finished. And then I would start iterating. We'll also need a bit set of size. It's called const and range equals 5 e5 plus 1 of size range. Let's call it visited. Call it visited. And now for int I equals 1, I less than equal to ni plus plus. If not visited I, then I will call the DFS function, which will return a set. Is add everything to this set. Add everything to this set. So do I pass the set or will it be a global set? Let it be a global set. Set of integers. Let's call it S. And if not visited, then S dot empty S dot clear and void DFS. It will take in int I and vector of vector reference adj, and it will start iterating. Here I will call DFS with I and pass in adj and do the stuff, right? 25. If current node is definitely not visited, so what we have to do is for this current node that I have to go, I will mark this as visited, and I know that it is not visited. Visited I equals true, and then for int x for adj I, everything that is connected to this ith node, if 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 not visited x, if this current node that this is if the x node that is connected to I, if that is not visited, then DFS on x with adj, and right here s dot insert I, add everything, right? That is it. If not visited, then call DFS and move on to the next one, right? That is enough in DFS. And after this, for int x in S, what we have to do, maybe not here, but here, clear it always afterwards. For int x response, vi res size n plus 1. For every node in this, res x equals s dot size. And for now, int I, int 1, yes, int I equals 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, cout, depending on resi, if resi is, then resi, otherwise output 1, and output this on new line, depending on I equals n. Mm. Or maybe everything is messed up. Okay, that is very bad. Yeah, that is very bad. That is very bad. Debugger, do I use the debugger? Let's actually use the debugger. Lang plus plus G C news distribution and output out. LLDB out. Right. And breakpoint at DFS. Breakpoint 1 has been set. Now run. I have to input. Let's input this whole thing. Right. And now we are at visited. Variable ADJ. ADJ is not a command. Print ADJ. Okay. We have the whole thing. At the zeroth element, nothing. And somehow we do not have anything for 1, but 1 is connected to 2. So we should have had something there. 7 is connected to 6. 6 is connected to 7. 5 is connected to 2 and 4. That is correct. 4 is connected to 5. That is also correct. And 3 is connected to no one. That is fine. 2 is only connected to 5, but it should also be connected to 1. It should also be connected to 1. So, huh? Why did that mess up? Why did we not load this thing? I less than m taken, yes. J less than c, that is also correct. Pushback, and then L equals R. So let's continue. Run. No, no, shit. We will set up a new breakpoint at main. Breakpoint at main, and let's run. Yep. N next, 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 next. Step into this uh, frame variables, frame variables, frame list. What is the command? How to see variables in LLDB. Frames, frame variable, frame variable. Okay. N at this point is 7, M is 5. This is just amazing that we can just see everything. I is 0, R is 1, L is 2. How are we already at that point? How are we already here? Where is C? C is 3. We are already at step 3 somehow. And nothing has been added. Okay, we are here. 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 R equals 1 Y. Visited, not visited. Why am I seeing that line? Okay, step into R is a random value right now. Okay, now I have R. Print R L. Can I do that? Okay, print R comma L. Print R. R is 5. Print L. L is 2, which is what we expect. So that is cool. And okay, then next, next, then next, then next, J plus plus. Okay, now we are at the second. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. We are taking this in here. Okay. If C, do all of this only then. If current group does exist, only then do this. And L, if L equals, if do all of this only then. Yep, cool. I think this should work now. And it does work now. And we can copy paste it here in the submit portion. And this has taken very long. This shouldn't have taken this long, but it is fine. It is fine. It is fine. Let's submit. LLDB, by the way, is amazing. LLDB is pretty amazing. Debugger. Okay, it is just somehow not working. Mhm. Let's go to the question. Shit, is code forces going down? It's been about 2 hours. That is fine. And code forces seems like it is lagging quite a bit. Uh, okay, while that is happening, I will go to the washroom and I will be right back. I'll be right back. Uh, I'm back. We can begin solving the question and see if it is online. Yep, it is working now. Hopefully. Uh, shit. If this actually stops working, then we can solve some neat code questions. If this doesn't work, if this keeps lagging. And it is lagging quite a bit. Shit. Wait, it is not lagging here. So what gives? News distribution. That is the question. Pooh. And is the stream fine? Yes, the stream is going completely fine. That is cool. No frames have been dropped. It is just something with code forces and something, I guess, particularly with that question because code force is working completely fine here. I can go to my submissions actually and get to that question from there. Time limit exceeded. There is something particularly with that one question. Okay, submit. News distribution, 2 seconds, and submit. Let's see. Okay, cool. Shit. Okay, that does work. That is amazing. Okay, so what was the one thing that I can take away from this question? The one thing was that not to be stupid. Since, yeah, in this thing, since all of these are connected to each other, I do not have to add every single person that is in the group that 2 is in. Yeah, in 2's group, I do not have to add every single person that 2 is in the group with. All I can do is I can add to the list of 2, I can add 5, and to 5's list, I can add 2. And for 5, I can add 4, and for 4, I can add 5. Just add these adjacent nodes to each other's connected nodes, and they would still be in a single group. And that makes sense. And that was the insight. And how can I state this in a not non-specific generic way? The generic way would be the amount of information that I was storing. Do I actually need that much information? No. Even if I just take the adjacent nodes as adjacent edges, then also I do not lose any useful information. Everything is fine. They would still be in a component. That is the thing I can take away from this. And here for the okay, shit tags are actually visible. Graphs, DSU, what is DSU? Data structure, DSU, okay. DFS is depth first search and similar. What is DSU? DSU and algorithm. What is DSU? Disjoint set union. They take disjoint set union. No, I just perform DFS. I was doing set unions earlier, but here also I'm using some set, this set. It is fine. It is fine. It is fine. We did the question. Now we can move on to the next question and update this and see the progress reflected here. One more question. Cool. And now the next number question is lost numbers. Lost numbers and shit, this is interactive. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. This is interactive. Okay, cool. And I will write this in both ways. I will first write this with C out and C in, and then I will write this again with printf and scanf. That would be cool. And before moving on to the next question, I want to just rewrite the solution to this one once more, just to make sure. Yep, I will delete everything that I have written. Yep, delete the whole thing in main and wait, not like that. I need to know these two things. I will actually have to do some research onto what these things actually mean. Now in mains, int n, m, and c in n, c in m. I'm taking n and m. N is the number of nodes, m is the number of groups that I have, and I will store them in a adjacency list, a vector of vectors. I will call it adj. The size will be n plus 1 for each node, and we can initialize like this, even though we didn't have to. It is a class, and vector does it on its own. Now in C, to store the size of the current group, I equals 0, I less than m. We will go till every group, and now we will take in the size of the current group. Yes, we will see take the size of the current group, and if there is anything in the current group, we will take it in, let's say L and R to denote the adjacent nodes. C in L, take the node on the left, and then for int j equals 1, j less than c, the size, and j plus plus, we will take in the node on the right, and in the adjacency list of both the nodes, we will push back the other node, adj l dot push back the one on the right, and then update the left to be equal to the right one, so that we have added all the adjacent nodes in each other's adjacency list. After we have done that, that is cool. And now for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus, we will iterate through all the nodes, and we have to store some data. Const in range equals 5e5 plus 1, because that is the maximum number of nodes that we can have. And we will have a bit set of size range. We will call it visited. It will represent if a node is visited, its value would be 1, and if not, then it would be false, 0. And we would also need a set of integers. We will call it s, which represents the current component that we are at, and a DFS algorithm. X or I, the current node, perform the DFS algorithm on this node, and take in vector reference adj, call it adj, and put visited I equals true, and s dot insert I, and for int x in adj of I, that is for every node that is connected to I, if not visited x, if x has not been visited, then call DFS x on x with adj. And here, if not visited I, then first of all call DFS on I with adj. After that, we will also have a vector vi response, or like a result, which stores the answer for all the nodes. And now after we have the set int x, we will iterate through the set, and we will do this x equals s dot size, that is the size of the component that this x node is a part of, and then s dot clear, empty the set, give back to the community. Okay, and then for int I equals 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, output, depending if this thing exists, then this thing, otherwise if it is 0, then output 1, because at least it is part of that. Or maybe we can do this, and here just output res I with I new line, And if I equals n, then output line. And we will not even check it. We will directly submit the whole thing and see if it works. Submit it. Hopefully it does, and it does work. So that is cool. And now, yes, interactive problem. This is amazing. Interactive problems are amazing. Cool. Interactive problems are actually cool. It feels like we are doing something new. And there are two ways to write interactive problems to take input and output. We could use printf or cout, and I will write the solution in both formats using printf and using cout. Both the things. This is an or stopwatch. Let me start the stopwatch and begin. Man, I'm just excited. This is an interactive problem. Okay. This is an interactive problem. Shit, okay. Remember to flush your output while communicating with the testing program. You may use okay. The jury the jury guessed some array A consisting of six integers. There are six special numbers, these, and each of these numbers occur in A exactly once. So A is some permutation of these numbers. You don't know anything about their order, but you are allowed to ask up to six queries. In each query, you may choose two indices, I and j, in the range, and they can even be equal. And I and j are not necessarily distinct, and you will get the values of I and j in return. Can you guess the array A? I will only get four. I will get up to four queries, and in each query, I can know the location of two things. So this, and then this. In just three queries, it is done. The array A is fixed beforehand in each test case. The interaction program doesn't try to adapt to your queries. Ah, ah, okay, maybe this is supposed to be hard because this is an interactive problem. That is why this is supposed to be here, I guess. Before submitting the answer, you may ask up to four queries. And to ask a query, print one line followed by the format question mark ij, where ij should be the integer value such as this. The line should be ended with a line break character. New line. After submitting a query, flush the output and read the answer to your query. Query one line containing one integer ai into a. Okay, ai into aj. If you submit any correct, okay, was that written? AI into AJ. Ah, that is cool. That is cool. Yes, I can just know one, two, three, the three distinct things. Yep. And then only three would be left, and then I can ask what is the. Okay, this is okay. One line containing one integer ij. If you submit an integer query or ask more than four questions, then you are messed up. And then with a bang, output the answer. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. We got this. We got this. This is cool. Interactive problem. We don't actually need any of this. We need where is this thing supposed to be? iOS. Okay, it is in iOS, and include IO stream and include stdio dot h. Okay, right. Let's say vector or vi res of size 6 and in vi nums initialize them to be equal to these 4, 8, 15, 16, 32. Yes, 42 is the answer to the universe, the meaning of life itself. Okay, now we have the numbers. A set would be better. Right. If I know the location of the first one and the second one, I can remove them from my set. I can remove them from my set. And I will have two queries left. Then essentially the problem is with two queries given, I figure out the order of four numbers? No, no. The product of any two numbers is not fixed, so that is cool. Wait, I can find for this pair, what is the product of these two numbers that would tell me what one number is and what the other number is. Yes, yes. To that I can calculate the two numbers and then ask the query for this pair, which would give me two numbers, and one of them would tell me what the number is here, and also here that would fix these numbers, that would also fix these numbers, and then ask two queries here, and then yeah, yeah, cool, 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 cool. So four times, or I can break this up into two. Int I equals 0, I less than 2, I plus plus, int of equals 0, and the end of equals 3. What is of? Of is offset. And yep, yep, yep. For a pair of, not a pair, for a tuple of these first three numbers, what I have to do is first of all, see out with a bang, space of whatever it is, and then a space of +1, and then a new line, and then cout plus, right? And then cin, let's say, and p, cin p, we will take in the product, and now we will iterate for int x in nums. If no remainder when p divided by x, when p is taken remainder, when p is divided by x, if there is no remainder, then see if nums dot count P by X if the other side also exists, then I know the first two numbers. Then I know the first two numbers. Okay, in F and F, and this is also very inefficient because the if the number of number changes, then everything will be messed up. X, and second is P by X, and we can break, and we are, yes, going to use go to for that. Wait, I can just break. There is only one loop. Well, now I know the first two numbers, and I need to do essentially the same thing. So maybe I can write a function which will return two numbers, which is a pair, and get n. And it will take in the offset. That is the only thing that it needs, and also set of integer reference nums. And yep, that is cool. And instead of this, we will have a pair of integers pr, and here we will have pr dot first equal to this thing, and here pr dot second equals to this thing, and return pr. Return the pair, and after that we can call this function here. Yep, pr or auto pr equals no, pair. We will use pair equals get n for this offset, and for these current nums, this will return two numbers. Yep, this will return two numbers at index of and of plus one. And now int pr2 equals get n for of plus one nums. And yep, when I have these numbers, I will have to remove them from the set. So num dot erase x, and nums dot erase p by x. Right, so my set is also now smaller. Yes, and what do I output now? Yes, I need to find the common element in the two pairs. That common element is going to be at index of plus one. So if conditions if conditions if if pr 0 equals pr 2 0, then pr dot first. Delete 2 down. Okay, or yes, we can break this whole pr thing smaller. Auto a comma b, that is cool. And here also auto c comma d. And now if a equals c or a equals d, then I know that a is the thing, and we can do res of plus one equals a, and res of equals b, and res of plus 2 will be the thing that is not equal to A, which is going to be A equals C. If A equals C, then D, otherwise C. Else, if that is not the case, then res of plus 1 equals B, and res of is going to be A, and res of plus 2 is going to be, depending on B equals C. If that is the case, then D, otherwise C. Then of plus equals 3, plus equals 3. And at the end, we would have our answer. Yep, we have a question. Yep, shit. Find this and replace this with a question mark. And we are also doing flush. We are also doing flush, which is cool. We are doing flush. And after this, for int I equals 0 or n, yes, I equals 0, I less than 6, or res dot size I plus plus of lower than 3. Shit. Of equals 0. And off we go. Of plus equals 3. 3. Nums dot size C out rest I, and now this or a new line depending on I equals rest dot size minus 1, and then C out flush, select all, yank the whole thing, and let's do this on our own. First of all, quit LLDB, yes, and blank plus plus B lost numbers out. We are going to check our program. 0, okay, makes sense, makes so much sense. Let's make plus 1 and also increase that. Now, cool. 1 and 2. What is the product of 1 and 2? The product of 1 and 2 is 8 4s are 32. 32. What is the product of second and the third number, which is this 15 into 8, 120. We somehow have the whole answer. We at least 4 and 8 is correct. At least. What happened? What happened? Of plus equals 3. While of is lower than res dot size. Or slash out. 1 2 product is 32. 4 into 8, 32. Then second and third product is 120. Fourth and fifth. What is the product of the fourth and the fifth number, which are this shit? I do not know. 23 into 16, 46, and 92. 92 into 4, 400 minus 32, that is 370, 368, 368. And the product of the last two numbers, shit, the answer of the whole universe, and into 23 into 42, 966, 966. Okay, 0. Okay. Everything else is correct. Yep, everything else is correct. But somehow I am messing up with off plus. Now run it. 32, 120, 368, 966. It is still 0. It is still 0. Huh. Of plus 2 equals, if B equals C, then output D, otherwise output C. Mm, Okay, this makes sense. I am erasing both the numbers. I can do that later. Maybe I don't even have to do that. 32, 120, 368, 966. That is correct. That is actually utterly correct. Yes, that should work. That should work. Let's see if it does. That should hopefully work. Okay. So maybe the way that you are approaching questions is not correct, or because 100 questions is a lot of questions, and that is the only way. If there is something bit incorrect, query format. Yes, just keep solving questions and eventually you will get better, but you will only get better if you are solving them correctly. If you are solving them correctly and paying attention while you are solving them. And you should be able to reproduce the questions after you have solved them. Reproduce your solutions after you have solved the questions. Incorrect makes sense. A bang. A bang for a buck. Bang. Select the whole thing and now submit. Shit. That would have been stupid if this were a actual contest. Hopefully, and yep, we can hope. Cool. 24 minutes to solve this one. 24 minutes. And now I have solved this using cout and cin. Now let's solve this using printf and scanf. and I really have to fix my LSP. Bits, no, input iOS and include stdio dot h, and when I'm doing that, I don't have to do this. Nope, I don't have to do any of this. Yep. Uh, Vector arrays or vector nums, the numbers that have been given to me, and now we are just resolving the whole question again. Yes, you do not have to feel bad when you are looking at solutions, but the thing is, after looking at the solution, can you write the code on your own? After you have looked at the solution for a question that you were unable to solve, can you write the code for that solution on your own again in just 5 minutes or after 10 minutes after seeing the thing? If you can do that, and if you know what is happening, then it is cool. Then it is not really bad. It is up to you. Your main focus right now, if you are learning, should be just learning. And if you are getting better at algorithms and data structures, then does not matter where you are, code forces or lead code, you will be better. It will only take you a week maybe to get used to code forces uh, interface, but the main task would be already done, that is getting better at algorithms. And if you can do that, then that is cool. And yep, these are the numbers, special numbers. Copy them, and let me show you an amazing thing. P, and what we would like to do is, in this interval, substitute every space with a comma globally. Okay, I messed up. In this whole line, substitute every space with a comma on the whole line. That is Vim. And now after I have nums, vi response is going to be of size nums, right? And ooh, why do I have solve? Okay, it is including some things, but it is not including everything. Now, for int offset equals 0, while off lower than rest dot size, and off plus equals 3. Keep adding 3 to the off, and we will here have a function returning a pair of integers. We will call it get n, and it will take an integer offset, and a set of numbers would be fine. Okay, set is not included. Now it is, and we can change this thing into a set of integers. And what do we have here? Yes, we need to make some queries. We need to make a few queries. And yeah, let's say because we are going to use printf and scanf here. Yep, you're welcome. And shit, you were asking how you should step into code forces. If you want to know how, you can start solving CP31, this sheet of questions. This is what I have been using to step into code forces. That is cool. You can do that. And here, yes, pair of integers. First, I have to make a few queries. Printf question mark space. I will have a number, then I will have another number, then I will have new line, and the first number is offset and the second number is offset plus 1, and flush stdio standard in, or maybe standard out, std out, flush standard out, and int p scanf p get at p scan p, and for int x in nums, if no remainder when p is divided with x, then c if nums dot count when p divided by x. If that is the thing, then we have our numbers. We can initialize our pairs. PR, let's call it PR, and pair PR dot first equals x, and PR dot second equals p by x, and then break or return PR. Wait, I don't have to, I guess if I just return 0 comma 0, yes, that also works. That also works. So I don't have to create a pair. That was stupid. Return x comma p by x. I have my pair. I am also flushing. That is also cool. Right here, auto a comma b, get them from get int, pass in the current offset, and then auto d c comma d equals get n offset plus 1. I have, yes, it also takes the nums set, and now if a equals c or a equals d, if anything, then I know res of plus 1 equals a, and res of e res of equals b, and res of plus 2 equals depending. If a equals c question mark, if a equals c, then return d, otherwise c, and else I would know that b is the answer, then of plus 1 equals b, the middle element, and at of I would have a, and then rest of plus 2 would be depending on b. If b equals c question mark, then d, otherwise c is the correct answer. And we do this, and at the end, for int I equals 0, I less than rest of size I plus plus. Cout is not the right thing to do. What we have to do is printf bang, bang, printf %d space. No, we will have space here and remove this space, comma rest I, printf new line, and then flush std out standard output. And we will directly submit this and hope that this works. Ich hoffe, es funktioniert. Let's see. First, it has to stop loading. That is one thing. Okay, now cool. Let's see, and it should run, hopefully. If it fails on test one, then wrong. But if it is, if it, okay, shit, okay, it is, I guess, not working. Flush, flush is not working because it is stuck. 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 Okay, flush is not working. Yeah, flush is not working. It is taking too long. Oh, or maybe, yeah, wrong answer because flush is not working. STD C out. F flush C out. Here I am printing something and then I am doing flush C out. That is correct. And then here also I'm doing something and then I'm using flush C out. That should be correct. Yep, that should be absolutely correct. But it is not somehow. Printf, printf, put char bang and put char 10. 10 is new line. Yeah. Maybe here I have to take in new line also. That could be the thing. That maybe is the thing. Let's test 32. Ah, makes sense. Of plus 1 and of plus 2. Maybe this was wrong. Recompile 32. Cool. Now it is working. 120, 368. And the last one is 9966. That is the correct answer. Cool. Okay, what was the mistake? The mistake was this offset. Offset was the one that I was giving to the question was 0 indexed, but it was expecting 1 indexed offset. That was the problem. Mistake in communication. And okay, now cool. It works. It works. Es funktioniert. It does work. Shit, there are a lot of test cases. Okay, it works on everyone. That is cool. And do we actually need to know the editorial? Hello. Good afternoon. Shit, okay. Are you training for solving Div 2C? Training for solving. Training for solving. Do you mean, what do you mean? Training. Like practicing. I am reading, by the way. Uh, Whenever I see something that I do not know about, then I go and read. Yes, this is my practice. I'm practicing solving questions here and I also read. The topics right now, I am focusing on dynamic programming from this book. There is the matrix problem, which I have written a code for. And this, there is the matrix chain multiplication. And yes, this is something, and I have written the code for this thing. But yeah, Catalan numbers. Whenever I see something while solving a question or while reading a topic which I am currently reading about, if I see something that I do not know about, then I have to go and read about that new thing. Like I knew that I do not know anything about dynamic programming, so I had to read about dynamic programming. The same with number theory, same with graphs, and whenever I see something that I do not know about, I have to go and read. But the first time I do not have to go completely deep in, right? Because that is very disheartening. It is my phone charging. Yes, that is good. Because for graphs, I've only read these two chapters, basics of graph, how graphs are represented, and basic algorithms, DFS and BFS, and then I did some questions on CACS, on graphs, yep, a few questions, and then I called it a day, and now I can solve a few graph questions, and I did the same with dynamic programming. I've done a few questions, and now I'm reading, and yeah, that is the approach I use. And now on to the editorial. I saw you a few days ago, you were solving 1300 and now you are comfortable with 1400. Yes, I am, because I'm not trying to improve and I am improving. Okay, and thank you, by the way. Thank you. Yes, because I want to show that anyone can become as good as they want. They just have to get after it, right? Do not pretend to be working hard. Do not pretend to be studying. Just study. Do not lie to yourself or anyone else. That doesn't help, right? And yes, and I study. Yes, education. Okay, this was educational round. So educational rounds are good because in educational rounds, the questions that are asked, they require some mathematical concept or some niche thing that you need to know about. So those are good educational rounds. As a viewer, I can say it's motivating. I can say that you show up consistently and improving. Yes, just show up every day. Consistency, repentance, and let me show you this thing that I have discovered, that when I have written a solution which works for some particular test case, for all the test cases that have been given to me, if my solution works for them, then instead of going through the code and seeing if everything is correct or not, just rewrite the whole code from scratch. Because if I am telling myself that I have done this particular question, then I should be able to write this whole thing from scratch again, right? So yeah, while I'm solving a question, I write the code at least 2 times for that question. Because if I'm telling myself that I have done this question, then it should not be a big problem for me, right? There is no downside to it. Just write it again. And thank you for your kind words. And this lost numbers. This also reminds me of a book, succinct. I don't know the spelling. Numbers, Succinct numbers. Uh, shit. Book. There is not a single definition succinct number books. Surreal numbers. Surreal numbers by Donald Knuth. And this is a nice book. Harvard University. There is a story. There is Alice and Bob. Yep, Alice and Bob, and they are having a communication. They are chatting with each other, and I only have read the first chapter, and they talk about something that was discovered by Conway, the same Conway, John Conway. the same person who invented the game of life. And they talk about things. I've only read the first chapter. I would like to read the whole book and someday do a stream on the whole book because it is only 25 chapters long, 25 pages long. And yeah, second chapter starts from page number 9, so it is not very long, but we will have to see how deep the mathematics goes. Yeah, one day I will do a stream on that. And good. Yo, morning. It is 4:30 there, and you are watching a stream at 4:30. That is cool. The key fact that allows us to solve this problem is that if we analyze the pairwise products of special numbers, we will see that all of them, considering that we always multiply two different numbers, are unique. So if we had to know that they are unique. This could have been messy. This thing has three factors, 2, 3, and 7. This is prime. This has 2, 4, 8, and 16 as factors. This has 3 and 15 factors. This property was very important, that pairwise products are unique for all the numbers. So if we example just output something, I should be able to figure out I and j. Yep. And then do the same thing for the next one and see if they are same or not. Yeah, cool. Morning. There was a video by Colin Galen on improving encode forces. He suggested to maintain a sheet listing down analysis, thoughts, intuition for each problem. Okay, that makes sense. I don't know who Colin Galen is. I will look that up. I feel good at this time because it is silent. At least is a perfect time for making brain work as is silent everywhere. Yes, that is cool. Work hard when no one is around. Yeah. David Goggins. David Goggins ain't got shit on me. And we will do one more question. At least. Okay, graph. This could be related to graph, I think. That is my first intuition. We will start doing the next question. I come to my grandma's house in New York. It is too noisy at night. Shit. Okay, New York is nice, noisy. I guess it would be noisy all the time. It Yeah. I mean, I don't know, right? I'm not there, but I have watched Taxi Driver. I guess it was filmed in New York, but that was a different era, 50 years ago. Mm, yep, it is pretty noisy there. And there are people coming to streets watching a man eat yellow cheese balls. And Timothy Chalamet look-alike contest was also there. Shit, it is 3 a.m. there? That Wait, it is 3 a.m. New York. 5:30, yeah, 5:30, around 3 a.m. I guess. No. Okay, you wake up at 3. I guess I shared that video on your Discord in programming stuff channel from the timestamp where he talks about it. What is your name? Why SSR? Is your name Kakashi? I'm just guessing. Woke up at 3. David Goggins ain't got shit on me. I will wake up at 3. That is cool. Yep. Midnight walks in Times Square. Shit, that is very cool. That is very cool. That is very cool. One day I will also come there and I will also take a walk. Okay, shit. Okay, I didn't saw that. I will. Okay, you are not Kakashi. Okay, I will see that. I will see that after the stream. And now getting back to the actually solving some questions. I will start the timer and we will solve the question. Okay. You are given a rooted tree with vertices numbered from 1 to n. Tree. Okay, a tree is a connected graph with no cycles and n minus 1 edges. There are ancestors of the vertex I are all vertices on the path from I to root except the ith itself. The parent of vertex I is the nearest to I ancestor of I. Okay, the parent. Okay, parent is that. Okay, each vertex is a child of its parent. In the given tree, the parent of I is the vertex pi. For root, the value of pi is -1. For 5, it is -1. As an example of a tree with n nodes, the root is 5, the parent of 2 is 3, the parent of vertex 1 is 5, and the ancestor of the vertex 6 are 3, 4 and 5, vertex 4 and 5, and the ancestor of 7 are 3, 8 and 5. 8, 3 and 5. 8, 3 and 5. You notice that some vertices do not respect others. In particular, if Ci equals 1. What is Ci? If Ci equals 1, then the vertex I does not respect any of its ancestors. If Okay, if Ci equals 1, then vertex I does not respect any of its ancestors, and if Ci equals 0, it respects all of them. You decide to delete vertices from the tree one by one. On each step, you select such a non-root vertex that does not respect its parents and none of its children respect it. A vertex that does not respect its parents and none of its children respect it. If there are several such vertices, you select the one with the smallest number. When you delete this vertex V, all children of V become connected with the parent of V. Okay, here we had 7. 7, okay, 7 was not very respectful. So 1 and 6 got connected to 4. Okay. Once there are no vertices matching the criteria of your deletion, you stop the process. Print the order in which you will delete the vertices. Note that this order is unique. Yes, because even if they match, you delete the smallest one. Okay, and n, and then the next n lines describe the tree. The ith line contains two integers, pi and ci. Parent and does this person respect or not? Okay. I can create a adjacency list to represent this, and I can also take this whole data and then DFS would be the thing. Given DFS, I will ask, but I would have to do DFS for all. Okay, first I can go and identify all the vertices that fulfill this thing. When will I stop? I will stop either no one disrespects any of their parent, or I think that would not be the case, because in this case 1 does not have any children. So do I remove 1 or not? 1 to 4. Here the answer is 1 to 4. Okay, I will remove. If there is a single person who does not respect, I will remove them. The third example, the tree will change in this way. Remove 5. Yes, makes sense. None of their children, their immediate children. Okay, makes sense, makes sense. N square, but I need to do better than N square. Okay, cool. We got this. LSP is not working. Okay. Include iOS and include IO stream int n and cnn, and what are the limitations? That is fine. That is fine. And then I will have a vector of vectors called adj of size n plus 1, and then in also a vector res, as in like respect, or no, 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 no. Res, as in like respect, and vi res as in like response, n plus 1, and int a comma b for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. What we will do is taken a, taken b, b is the respect thing, and make this one, make this equal to n, and res respect for I is b, whatever it is, and adj of I dot pushback a, and adj of a dot, no, pi. Pi is the parent of index I. Add I as a child. So this is not a adjacency matrix. This is parent pair, right? And yep, we have that. Also set int no no respect, include 20, and here if it is 0, then no respect. Uh, if a is not equal to -1, only then do this. And yes, and if not b, when do they do not respect? 1. If b equals 1, or if b, then no respect dot insert I. I does not respect. Okay. Okay, and now I can start iterating in this set of no respect from smallest to biggest node index. And also one more thing. When I move past a index, yes, I can safely move past. Yes, yes, okay. Int x in no rest. And now for in into I in in everything that is connected to this y or whose parent x is, x does not respect anyone. All I need to check is for every children, do they respect or c and pair x. Okay, and bool rem equals false. Do not remove. Yes, true. Do remove. And if respect given by x, if this is false, if not this, then rem equals false and day. And here if rem virs, if rem, then res dot push back x. And now for int I equals 0, I less than res dot size I plus plus. What I will do is this I space new line I equals n minus 1. What is n? And no, that is wrong. Size minus 1. Hopefully it works. Okay. Hmm. Minus 1. What do I output? If res dot size, if not res dot size, cout minus 1 and return. Exit with exit code 0. Okay, and wait, I like actually have to go to the washroom. Okay, I will keep the count timer on and I'll be right back just in a minute. And yep, I'm back. Have a great day. If you have time, help me with lead code. It would be great. Shit. Okay. Cheat code 354. Okay, I will look at it, look it up right now. Keep going. Thank you. And what's 3D stuff? Shit, there are 3D stuff there. And all the best. Thank you. Does college matter? Like X if example, if I don't get into IIT, my programming future gonna destroy. No, no, I'm in tier 3 college. Okay, and I don't think my future is destroyed because I'm not in an IIT. And what we will do here is remove the whole code and rewrite it from scratch again. Include IO stream and include, we are going to be using set and include iOS. That should be enough. That should be enough. And what we do is n, c in n, take in n, and a vector of vectors. We'll call it children. N plus 1 is going to be the size and initialize the vector, even though we didn't have to. Set no resp and respect vi resp size n plus 1, right? And then int a and b does not matter. For int I equals 1 I less than n I plus plus less than equal to n I plus plus, and taken c in a and b and call this r, and let's call this p as in parent and r as in respect. So we can update the respect of ith thing, and resp I equals r. And yes, r if r, then no resp dot insert r, insert I. And if p is not equal to -1, then children of p dot pushback I. P has I as a legitimate child, and vi response. And now for int x going through no resp, every person that does not respect their ancient elders, shit, 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 shit. Once there are no shit, respects all of them, and in particular ci equals 1, then I vertex I does not respect any of its ancestors. You decide to delete vertices from the tree one by one. On each step you select such a non-index vertex. It does not respect its parents, and none of its children respect it. If there are several such vertices, then remove the one with the smallest. Shit, okay. Okay, I messed up a little bit. Does not respect any of its ancestors, and 0 respects all of them. Children, how is a child? Who do we call a child? Just the immediate one, immediate one. If it is just the immediate one, then we are cool. For int, let's say C n children of X, bool rem equals true, and if resp resp C equals it is 0, then they do respect their elder. If it is this, then rem equals false and break. And after we break, if rem, if it is possible to remove, then res dot insert x or push back x, and then for int I equals 0, I less than res dot size I plus plus cout res I space new line I equals res dot size -1. Okay, okay, okay. Yes, that same condition again. If res dot size, if it is not res dot size, then cout -1 and exit with exit code 0. Cool, it does work, and this will break if to remove a node, all of its children have to disrespect that node. Non-root vertex that does not respect its non-root. Okay, let's keep that in mind. If R and P is not equal to -1, then I will not have root there ever. And okay, this might actually break, but this might even work depending on the subtleties. Let's see. Okay, it seems to be working. That is fine. 24 minutes to do this one. We can refresh. And that was the last question for the day. But before moving on, of course, we have to go through the question and see what were the things. I think this question is at 1400 level only because this is a graph question. Because this is not very hard. This is an easy question. If you have done something with the graphs, then this is not very hard. This is easy. But if you are not familiar with graphs, then this is going to be hard for you. I think that is the only reason that this function is here, because we are not even using any DFS or BFS, any fancy stuff. We are using, we need some sorted order. For that, we are using set. And for storing, we are using a parent-child relationship. You could call it a DAG, DAG, directed acyclic graph. Okay, because you are going from the parent to child, but not from the child to parent. You do not need to know that relation. Yeah. So And I guess that when I click on show tags, I will see graphs, sorting, graphs, sorting, yeah, graphs, sorting, and implementation, or none of those. And okay, that is also good. Trees, yes, trees. Trees is a thing. Acyclic graph, tree, tree is a thing. But I didn't use DFS. Let's see what do they say is the correct answer. Queen. From the condition above, Mr. Mike is the author. That is amazing. Is this educational round? No, this is normal division 3 round. Division 3 question. From the condition about the fact that every vertex equally respects all its ancestors, we can understand that each vertex is either always a candidate for deletion or it can never be deleted. Is always a candidate for deletion or it can never be deleted. This is because when we delete some vertex, all new vertices which become sons or not daughters, sons of its parents are also disrespecting it. And parents, if it respects its parents, we will remember that its parents cannot be deleted and we will get the answer. Okay, it feels like my code just worked because some subtle difference, because of luck. From the condition about the fact that each vertex equally respects all its ancestors, we can understand that each vertex is either from the fact that each vertex equally respects all its ancestors, either respects or disrespects them, we can always understand that each vertex is either always a candidate for deletion or it can never be deleted. That is, it can never be deleted. It can never be deleted. That is because when we delete some vertex, all new vertices become sons of its parent and are also disrespecting it. And are also disrespecting it. Yes. Yes. So I only have to check its immediate neighbors. Okay, there is something that I do not understand in this. Let's go to the graph. If I have a few vertices, if I have a few vertices like this in a tree, this is a these are amazing looking nodes, very beautiful. And let's say they are connected like this. And this is very strange connection, but yeah, that is how they are connected. And if this guy does not respect anyone above, let's say this one also does not respect and this one also doesn't respect, and this is not very cool representation. Wait, this one has, let's say, three children, and none of them respects this guy, but this guy is respectful, so I cannot remove him because he respects. So I can only remove the guys who do not respect, which is in the question. So let's say this one does not respect. If he does not respect, then I have to check all of its children. Do they not respect the parent? And if they do not, then cool, I can remove him. And when I do remove him, I only have, and I go there, I will have to match this with these because they are the new children. But the thing is, if this was removed, if this had the ability to remove, this could only be removed if none of them were respecting him, and all of them are now connected to this guy, and still they do not respect him, this guy. So this guy can also be removed. This guy can also be removed. But there would be a problem if we have something like this. 2, 3, and they are connected like this. This one does not respect. This one also doesn't respect anyone. And but this one does. This one does respect. And this one doesn't respect anyone. This one also doesn't respect anyone. So if I'm only checking this with this, then I can remove it. So yeah, I guess in the question, I have to check this with this only, with just the child that this person has, and not with every single child that possibly is there. So that is cool. That is cool. And shit, my laptop is in the way. My bad. Now it is out of the way. And for today, that would be the end of today's stream. And I will never get used to this thing. This camera follows me everywhere I go. That is pretty cool. And for today, that would be the end of today's stream. We did 4 questions, and solving one question was like it took more than 1 hour, but we were able to do it. So that is cool. And thank you for being here. Bye.